I am, Chloe, responsible for, my brother taking his life. And I'm responsible for four of my clients taking their life. And people will say, no, but you didn't pull the trigger.
Losing your own brother and 4 clients, that's a tough thing to go through.
So individual kids, there's nearly 3,000 kids individual that have come in the door.
When I went to your website and watched the video, it nearly brought me to tears. The amount of impact that you're having on these kids.
Man, I've got $4,500 left in my regs, $11,000, and the math doesn't add up. I'm in trouble.
She was telling me that obviously when you strength training, it actually rewires your brain and neuroplasticity.
Absolutely. The number one antidepressant is resistance training. Groundhog Day, we just go through the motions, which probably a lot of business owners can do. It brings complacency, and it's a mother of all F-ups. We think that we have to say that, no, we're okay when we're not. Vulnerability is the new courageous, right?
Yeah, I think there's it's one thing, I think, to be vulnerable around your staff and show them that you're human.
I'm done. I'm going to have to close the building. I'm going to have to shut the building down.
Honestly, it's giving me goosebumps.
Horrible voicemail message that said, sorry, bro. Love to your family. I got to go.
Most business owners build a company because they want to make money. A smaller amount build it because they want to make an impact. He's a multi-award-winning operator, a 4-time author, honorary doctor of arts, and a national mental health advocate. But none of these titles tell you why he actually built any of it. He lost his brother to suicide and then 4 of his clients. And he went on to build one of Australia's most awarded community businesses out there. A charity with over 18,000 check-ins in 3 years and a 100% suicide prevention rate. This is a conversation about building a business with meaning, about the mental health crisis hiding inside high performers, and about how personal tragedy can become the foundation of the most awarded business that you'll ever build. Before we start, over 90% of people watching this podcast aren't actually subscribed, and we release conversations like this every single week. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Hello.
Chloe, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Sensational, thank you.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving your time, coming down all the way from sunny coast.
My pleasure. I'm on a trip to the Gold Coast, so I thought it actually worked out perfectly. So this is a halfway stop.
Yeah, cool. So I want to dive into a little bit about what you do. So obviously a lot of people that get into business, it's usually because they see opportunity. You've had an unfortunate start, I guess, in the sense as to why you started your business. So how did that kind of come into play?
Yeah, Chloe, I wasn't brought up in business. I actually was brought up in a very poor family that their business was more survival over business.
Yeah.
So I'd spent most of my life just cruising along and just inheriting, I guess, what my parents taught me. And sometimes when a lot of people get into business or build charities or foundations, there's generally a big why and a story behind it. And essentially after losing, a brother and to suicide, that was the catalyst for myself to go, you know what? This feels horrible. This is the worst time of my life. And something just clicked in my head to go, you know what? Something has to come of this tragedy. There has to be something more. There's got to be something more than just being a tradesman in this world. And then my heart just started turning and realized that, you know what? I want to do what I want to do. And in the very, very short context of this question, I just thought to myself one day, what do I do? What am I good at? And I was great at bodybuilding. I've been bodybuilding now for the last 25 years, natural bodybuilding, competing. I love it. It's what I do. And I've used it through challenges in life. And I thought, well, maybe I can use this as a tool to help people as well. And after losing Dino to suicide, I gathered with him there was loneliness, isolation, disconnection. He gave up all his sports that he was so fantastic at. And so I just simply started coaching people, nothing fancy. Well, I didn't think it was anyway. But what I was doing, I started attracting depressed people like Dino, people going through anxiety, just going through extreme situations. And I guess I had that gift to be able to bring those people into my world. And then before you know, within a couple of months, I was coaching 80 people. And why I thought I was giving them 6-packs and trainer sessions, it was it was so far from that. It was, Chloe, it was all about there was the connection, the conversation, there was safe. They felt safer in myself. And that was the actual starting point to go, wow, business can be more than making a lot of money. Yes, we made money. I made money. The business did really well, but there was more to it. And then it opened many other doors later that I can probably talk about a bit later on.
Yeah. And then obviously you went on to do the charity as well.
Yes. So that was, I had it on my heart, realizing that I was working with all these depressed and suicidal people. So essentially 90% of the people I worked with were going through a challenge. And during that journey, I was doing really well. And I thought I was cheering, to be honest, Chloe. I'm thinking, man, I've just discovered a problem, within the Sunshine Coast in Queensland. But then tragedy struck again, where within 2 months, I'd actually lost 4 of my clients to suicide. So this started opening a can of worms to go, well, actually, hang on. I'm not as good as I thought I was. I was bringing these people in, but I was only getting surface problems, and I was giving them a goal, but I was kind of band-aiding the problem. I wasn't actually getting to the root core of what was going on. So I thought to myself, what am I missing? So I thought to myself, actually, I know what it is, mate. Maybe I need to build a big place where when I'm coaching these people, there's no one else around. It's a cool environment where there's, maybe bean bags, and we can have a chat after the training session. I put a pool table in there, put a table tennis table in there, and I just started doing the most obsolete style coaching.
Yeah.
But it worked, and I started getting to the root core of what people were going through, and I'm starting to think I think I'm onto something here. And by doing this for the last 10 years, I've never lost a life to suicide. And then I started thinking to myself, well, hang on, there's got to be another problem going on. Why have we got, why did these people get in the darkness in the first place? The average age was probably 40 up that I was coaching. So now I'm looking at their kids. Now I'm looking at their kids going through challenges, and I'm seeing a carbon copy of my brother Dino when he was young. So I thought to myself, maybe I need to build a center where I can get these kids early, and we say early intervention, and maybe I can get these kids to be vulnerable, have a conversation, and get them connected early, so they don't become disconnected by the time they're in their late teens, maybe turn to illicit drugs, alcohol, and before you know it, it's they've lost their marriage, relationship with their kids, their job, and pretty much everything good that may happen in their life. They've probably lost it all. So I thought to myself, one day my heart said, my faith said, Leon, build a youth center. So I did. I simply went, and my wife and I, we sold everything we owned, Chloe, everything we owned, bar at home. My wife wouldn't let me sell the house, so we kept the house, right? And anyway, we took a calculated punt, and I went and built this charity that I had no idea what to do. I had no idea how to build a charity, a foundation. I got really no advice, but my heart still said do it. And I thought, you know what a cracking way to learn. And if I could pull this off. Now I fast forward, this charity's nearly been going for nearly 3 years, Lookout07. To date, we've had 18,500 kids sign into the door. So individual kids, there's nearly 3,000 kids individual that have come in the doors. So from just a little word in my heart, a little push, here we are today, and now it's won every award you possibly can think of, which they're a pat on the back, they're nice, but it's given me this big drive, and it's thrown me into this business world that I never entailed to, and I love it. And now we've got schools getting built, flexi schools getting built next year, so it's it's an incredible journey.
And when I was doing a bit of research on you and obviously prepping for the podcast, when I went to your website and watched the video you have on the website and the homepage, it nearly brought me to tears. The amount of impact that you're having on these kids, and how safe they feel, and the things that they're not doing now because they feel safe with you.
Yeah, Chloe, and thanks for bringing that up and watching that video. I've watched it 55 times, and my wife and I still sit there and we get a little bit emotional. We go, man, look at these beautiful kids there. They're 15, 16 years old at best, and they're talking about their suicidal tendencies. They're talking about their bullying, and they're talking about every challenge they're going through. And I watch it, Chloe, and I go, how amazing to go. We're teaching kids to have that conversation young, and it's become not a taboo to talk about their problems, but it's become like almost an honor and a privilege for them to be able to share what they're going through with us. So, which was the exact design of the building. And so I sit back and I go, God, a little old guy that kind of grew up with no confidence, no belief, no real work ethic, to be honest. But pain and heartache and our challenges in our world have a way of driving us forward, Chloe, and it's almost, I feel like I'm cheating because I've got this added drive and a why from losing a brother and 4 clients of suicide, which sounds horrendously horrible, but I honor these people every day, in that they taught me everything I needed to know. I had to go through that hardship, that pain, to be able to help these thousands of kids.
Now, having this business, what kind of impact does that have on you?
Wow, on the impact personally, I've got this belief in myself and confidence that you can't buy. you can't learn from school. You can't read in
No.
a textbook.
Yeah.
So by doing something that was on my heart and going, you know what, I want to create something massive. And yes, it's going to cost me a lot of money. It cost me $500,000, might I say, of equipment, assets, and finance.
That was actually going to be my next question, is how much did it cost?
Oh, my goodness. So cash, I remember getting into this place, and Chloe, I was thinking, oh yeah, I did the math. It's probably going to cost me maybe 30 grand or something like that. This is a big building, by the way. And there was my first mistake in business. Budget was terrible. And my wife's an accountant too. I got a little bit excited. It all happened so fast. And so I blew my budget out by about 470,000. So, but you know what? The funny thing was, after the first 18 months, and I was striving with every penny, I never paid myself a cent from the charity whatsoever. But all my philosophy was, I know this is going to work, and I know the world has not seen a safe place, a safe space like this where kids can have these conversations, what's happening. So I know it's going to work. I just had that belief to know. Now, yes, there were times when I'm looking at my bank account and I'm going, oh, the doubt creeps in. That would be every single business person. And there's moments where I'm looking at my bank account, I'm going, man, I've got $4,500 left in my recs, $11,000, and the math doesn't add up. I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
And I'm in trouble. But there's always, I just, with my faith, I'd always believe that for some reason on the 23rd hour and the 59th second, and I wish time it didn't work that way, but something always come through, and it might have just been a $10,000 donation or a 15,000. I remember one time specifically, I'm on my hands and knees and I'm praying. I'm going, I'm done. I'm going to have to close the building. I'm going to have to shut the building down. And bizarrely, from that last prayer that I had $4,500 in the bank, $193,000 turned up within 48 hours. $193,000 just magically turned up from 4 organizations that randomly knew what we were doing, loved what we're doing. And that influx right there, everything just stemmed from there, and just started believing and go, wow, okay, Leon, so keep connecting, make relations. You know, but foremost, you've got to have a good product, right?
Yeah.
You have to go do work. Like you can go and, I need money, I need to run events, we need to raise money, whatever it might be, or I need the government on board.
Yeah.
That all will happen. But if your product doesn't stand the test of time, it's not going to. And that's where I just had to have so much belief and faith in what I did. And essentially that's where the outcome came. And moving forward, we've just landed a deal with, we've got 4 organizations. This is incredible. Costa Homes, they're going to build a house for us.
Wow.
At cost price, at absolute cost price. So they're hoping to build it for around maybe 1.1 million, right? We've got a finance company, Sunshine Coast Financial Solutions, that are happy to put the finance up for us. And Stockland Homes give us the house, give us the land. A guy's going to throw car a car in for us. And then we're going to auction it off, hopefully for about 1.7 plus. And the whole lot of it's just profit goes straight into the charity. What a sensational idea. So we're always thinking outside the square. And that funds there will allow us to then tap into, open a new school, and then another school, and then another centre, couple of bucks in the bank. So yeah, it's amazing when you get in that clarity, Chloe, when that mind's got that clarity, and you're kind of at that peaceful stage, and you really back what you do, as opposed to stressing, chasing your tail. You don't think rationally, and your decisions you make are sometimes they're not as sharp as they should be. So my philosophy is always just, Leon, be a pretty relaxed sort of dude, and that's what works for me. And you can kind of see things. And when you're having a meeting about, you want to land a big deal, if you rock in and you're pretty calm, relaxed, bring some good energy, it usually goes pretty well.
Yeah. And have you had any government funding or any of that? Yeah.
Yeah, we tapped in our first. We've had a lot of small little donations. That's cool.
Yeah.
The council are starting to really get on board, and our ambassadors, Rosetta Natali, which is our mayor. So that's always a good sign. So she's all part of it.
Yeah.
So it's always keeping good relations, good people close to you. Yes, and Youth Justice has finally, they jumped on board towards the end of last year. So we got another big meeting with them next week. So we're actually going to drive down to go actually physically meet them and meet the board that actually give the grants out.
Yeah.
So we want to make it personal.
Yeah.
We know, and they know that we're doing great work, and we've got the testimonials. We've been successful with all their grants so far. But we actually want to take, and I believe in business about that person relations. So we're actually going to go drive all the way up to Ipswich.
Yeah.
And we're going to go in there and we're going to sit down and we're going to thank them, we're going to praise them, and we're going to show them the last award we won on Australia Day, Best Organisation of the Year. So we want to go in there, and for us, it's important that we just don't go collect money. that we do go thank those that are looking after us. And that's a big thing I believe in business is relationships. And that's that's one of my key ingredients.
Yeah, 100%. I think your network is your net worth. And especially like with the work that you're doing is so amazing. Honestly, it's giving me goosebumps just
Thank you.
talking,
Right.
talking
Oh, I
about
get
it now.
excited, as you know, and I think if you're going to be in business, if you can have that excitement and again, business, everyone knows it has its ups and downs and challenges, but I think if you just focus on that positivity of yourself and the energy you throw out to the world, everything will have a way of taking care of itself. And yeah, you're going to have dry spells where nothing comes through for 4 or 5 months, and that's all of it. But if you can't hang on to that last bit of the dry spell and just at the top of the hill, because we all know at the top of that hill there's something on the other side, but most probably drop short of maybe not receiving what they could have received because they gave up too early. So there's a real trust and faith thing in business. I say that sometimes you just got to hang on longer than you like, and if you can sit through that pain, you'll come out the other side.
Yeah. Now, when you first started this, what's the difference between you when you first started to the person that you are now?
Well,
Because that's a lot of growth within that time.
it's astronomical. I think if you met the Leon, I would say when I'm nearly 50 now, I believe I'm like 6 months from 50, and I still feel like 20. I still feel like a young kid. I guess I'm around kids all the time, but energy to burn. Wouldn't even know barely what the word anxiety means anymore. I don't really stress too much. I'm about the calmest person in the room. Yes, I get them emotions, but I guess I can extract them pretty quick. That's a thing that I've had to learn. I grew up the complete contrary to that. Always stressing, always worrying, anxiety riddled. I inherited that. My whole family's got depression, darkness. They struggle with them demons. And I reckon I always had that, attitude in life to go, yeah, this is hard, but I'm okay. And today I'm not well, but I'm going to be okay. And I always sort of just had that attitude. And I thought to myself when I stepped into business, just going, it's got to be hard, tough. And obviously got the 2 organizations now, but I always just had that attitude of like, you know what, it's going to be hard. I'm expecting a tough time. But I've always got perspective, right? You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm still here doing this, and my brother Dino's not, Dale and Ange and Steve and Jono that are no longer here that I failed, they're miserably. So that they took their life. So I kind of have that appreciation, gratitude, perspective every single day to go, you know what? I actually got nothing to lose, and that's, and that's scary. So Leon today, Leon back to say 15, 20 years ago, it's light years apart. And that's not just I've just hit a switch and that's the new Leon. There's more fails than I can count on. I've wasted so much money. I've lost so much money. More money than I'd like to. I probably got to have 2 youth centers if my money wasn't so lost all the time. But you know what? As we all know, I think most people that do well have sometimes got down to that broke position.
Yeah. Yeah. Whoa. Sorry. I'm like, whew, getting like shivers.
It is, Chloe. It's like it's probably not the everyday stuff, and this is why I get really excited. Is when you're building something that's it's like it's when you walk in there, you go, people look at photos and they go, oh yeah, this looks pretty, it's good, it's got a gym, boxing ring, basketball courts, pool tables, table tennis table, free psychology, free counseling. That sounds pretty good anyway. But when it's not until you walk in there and you just like you drop your shoulders, you go, oh, I just feel chilled. And you can have your so-called Eshe kids, Chloe, that come in and they walk in and they can drop their guard, mate. They can drop their guard and just to go, come up and give us a cuddle. These are Eshe boys. They can't do that in the street. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're tough and they've got to have their guard up. But they can walk into my place and go, no one's judging them. I'm not looking at you any differently because you want to wear different clothes. And they've turned into our kids that look the most maybe scary are the most lovey-dovey kids, mate. And the one thing that these kids always tell us, they tell us they love us for starters, mate. These are 16-year-old boys on the street that tell us they love us. They cuddle us and they hug us and they say, thanks for understanding us and not judging us.
Yeah.
It's massive. It's huge. And that's all these kids want. And not to be judged and spoken down to or spoken over top of. Just accept us that we've done mistakes, accept us that we've done stupid things, and we'll work with that. But the world's blaming them, and let's be honest, some have dug their own, horrible stories there. But most of them, mate, they just want to be loved, mate, and they may not have sometimes got the perfect upbringing like some of us got.
Yeah. How do you go like juggling the different businesses that you have?
It's a headache. It's a headache.
It's a headache doing one business.
Oh my God. I tell you what, Chloe, as I wipe my forehead as I answer this question. Today, easy. Today it's easy. I got a real good philosophy now. But I tell you what, the first just under 2 years, I remember having to coach 50 people during the week, and I'd get in the gym at 5 a.m. and I'd do a little mindfulness for 10, 15 minutes, and I'd train, and I'd see clients. I'd do be psychology and sports psychology and counseling. I'd be doing, and then just some face-to-face coaching, and then online coaching. So there's a lot of stuff that happened, and that had to all be done by probably 12:30 p.m. Right, and then I would sprint home and I'd jump in the pool and I'd eat some food and I'd fall asleep in 1 second for about half hour. And then I'd come back and open the youth center at 2 o'clock, get ready to air conditioner on and get ready for the kids to come back in by about 2:45 or whatever they sort of come in. And that was a sequence for about 2 years. And I single-handedly had to open this place on my own with 2 friends. So it was just 3 of us starting, all volunteers, none of us got paid. And then both of them, I burnt them out. So they had to step aside. Then it was just me and a couple of other people that I sort of brought in. So the first 18 months even was the hardest thing that I've had to do. And there was absolute survival. And it taught me about what true work ethic. I thought I used to work hard, right? I used to thought, oh, no, I got home at like, 8 p.m. It's been a long day and might get the weekends off or something. But there might have been a lot of waste time between that. But I sincerely would have been, an 18 hours per day nonstop. But I always made a point to go, Leon, sure you train every day, look after yourself. What can you control? There's a lot I can't control. But I also had a big mission, and there was a reason for me to get up every day and keep pushing on. Like if it was someone else that was running this, that I gave the reins to, I'm going to be the founder and someone else could run it. It wouldn't have happened. It physically, they didn't have the connection to my story. I wasn't looking at my pastor brother on the wall every day as motivation. So it's amazing how long pain can push you for, but it won't push you along forever. It got to about that 2-year mark where I actually had to ring up. I got a private investor, so happened to be my best mate. So he helped us also get in the building. So I had to be humble myself and ring up and say, Dave, I need 150 grand. I need 2 staff. I said, you give me 2/3 of the wages and I'll find the rest. And I had to justify to him, and he was fine with that. And once we did that, I put 2 guys on. So I managed now to run the center, and there's an operations manager in the background. 2 of the most cracking blokes you're ever going to meet. And mate, they know business, but more importantly, they know people. And they've almost like they've been handpicked in my life to come and take over. So now I only hit the center probably twice a week. So I don't even go in there on a Monday, Wednesday. So it's pretty straight 4 days a week. I just pop in there Tuesday, Thursdays for, probably 2.5 hours at a time. So essentially now I've gone from working in it, 40 hours a week down to pretty much 5 hours. And all the admin, I don't even touch the computer. I do for my body, mind, belief, but when it comes to the charity, my wife does all the back end accounts for her. So she gets that side of it. All I do is I just pay the bills. And I've got all the operations and have a few meetings. So to this date now, I'm a very good delegator.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like the mediator. I'll organize this, make a few calls, do a lot of speaking presentations. You get a lot of inquiries after them, and then I'll drum them and pass them over to the boys to seal the deal. And that's generally how it works. So I've got it now. I probably 80% of my time can now go back into body, mind, Leon, and doing the heavy lift and the heavy chats with the kids and the parents. So we do a lot of work with the parents, trying to help them as well, because they're also going through challenges. So the delegation, if you can humble yourself and you can somehow hand the reins over, that's the hardest part for most people, because business owner, it's my baby, or no, I don't trust people.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I believe if you do have trust in people, you need to know and let them know that you trust them. Not give them tasks and still try to
micromanage. No.
Yeah, it doesn't work, mate. So I chose guys that they've been here for literally just over a year. Well, right on a year now. They started in May, so literally both on here at the same time. So since I've had them, I feel so recharged. I can come and do, like, if you asked me 12 months to come to the podcast, wasn't happening.
Yeah.
I wasn't getting out of there. Yeah, I just couldn't do it. So now that delegation I think is massive, as long as you don't try and micromanage, because it does put a little bit of doubt and trust in your employees.
Yeah. Do you feel like you are like close to burning out or burnt out in that time?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I was. If burnout was the 100%, I was. Yeah, 99.3, mate. I was on the verge. I guess the cool thing is I'd been there before, and after losing so many people to suicide, I'd actually got there, and all single handedly almost destroyed me. And that would have been 7 years ago, and I promised myself I'll never get there again. I believe in overreaching. I believe in business as a point where you have to get in the trenches. There's no way out of it, but you've just got to know to go, hang on, when am I about to lose it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to tip back. And that was that one phone call. It was, I
Yeah.
humble myself. I could have not made that phone call, but I knew I built something that was 15 times, 20 times greater than I could have imagined. And my investor too, Dave, was blown away how big it grew. It would blew hit. He probably backed me and knew I could do it.
Yeah.
That's why when I rang him, he was like, "Yeah, mate, great decision." As
Yeah.
opposed to questioning me about asking for $150,000.
Yeah.
It was probably thinking, "Oh, it's about time you called me, right?"
Yeah.
Because to go the next level, I don't want to run a cartoon center. I want to run a center that's as professional. We got around 45 volunteers now,
Nice.
and 4 full-time staff, and we got trainees coming in. So yeah, it's really grown dramatically over the course of, say, 3 years.
Yeah. So when you're like in that business, a lot of people do look very successful from the outside, but what are like kind of the mental health stuff that they're dealing with?
Yeah, it's a good question, that, Chloe, because I deal with a lot of CEOs, professionals, and I'm kind of like a bit of a role model leader. Everyone knows, back up my way, that Leon sees. I drive around with on my ute. It's got a picture of me with no shirt on, right? It's a great marketing thing, to be honest. But I've had that for 13 years, so everyone knows that. Hang on, this guy looks after himself. He speaks. He presents.
Yeah.
He's everywhere in the community. He's look. I did 7 years of free counseling for kids for the community. That was part of my giving back to the community. So I've been in the community for a long time, and you deal with a lot of parents and people, and you do know that they do see, they go, hang on, this guy, he does take care of himself. So it attracts people to go, man, like a CEO might contact me, hey, Leon, I've got a lot going on. Can we have a conversation and chat? And you're always going back, and a lot of them also just have to learn to humble themselves, I think, and just go, you know what? It's okay for me to come to work and say, hey, how you going, Leon? Yeah, boys, I'm having a tough day, but I'm okay. But I'm having a tough day. I think, as a CEO and a founder and even a pilot, we think that we have to say that, no, we're okay when we're not. And I think that's just, I struggle with that too. It's like, we're the leader. We can't let anyone know we're vulnerable.
Yeah.
But I think it's 2026, Chloe. And let's be honest, vulnerability is the new courageous, right?
Yeah. I think there's it's one thing, I think, to be vulnerable around your staff and show them that you're human, as long as it's not getting to a point where it's like you physically can't, look after a team.
That's you probably just nailed it there, mate. To be honest, there's a part. That's why I think I say that, if I'm not having a great day, and look, 80% of the time, like I'm pretty good. Like I get flustered about too many things, but when something does pop up, and I've actually just been in and out of hospital for the last month, but I'm fine. You wouldn't know, and I go, yeah, this is hard. This is the most challenging I've had in a little while, and everyone's like, oh, you're right. Yeah, but I am. But I'm actually good. I'm just not answering the question.
Yeah.
But it's just an integrity and honesty thing for myself to say, hey, yeah, this is challenging time, but I'm okay. And I think if you can muster that, and let's say you're not okay, Chloe. Let's say you are a manager, a supervisor, or a CEO, and you're not okay. That's okay as well.
Yeah.
If you do something about it.
Yeah.
It's not okay if you are the leader and you're responsible for so many great employees, and the responsibility and being the leader is leading from the front, and that would be going, yeah, fellas, I'm going through a challenging time, but I'm addressing it, and I'm doing a couple of things in the background in my time to take care of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a true leader is. A true leader is not trying to grind through burnout at the end, and then you'll end up sabotage. You may be breaking up with your marriage, or lose a relationship with your kids, because that kind of what can happen.
Yeah. Yeah. It can be really tough, especially when you have so many people to lead, be a role model for. And, you're trying to show them that you're strong, you've got this, but it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah, exactly. And what is like, what's strength anyway? What is it? Like, it's not how
Yeah.
much I can bench press. It's not like how staunch. It's not how much I can lie about how I feel. A true strength is really, it's about saying to go, yeah, this is, I am, Chloe, responsible for, my brother taking his life. And I'm responsible for four of my clients taking their life. And people will say, no, but you didn't pull the trigger, so to speak. I said, no, but I gave them the wrong advice. I wasn't educated. My heart was in the right place, but I didn't know what to say. I said the wrong things. I was burnt out at the time. I'm trying to help all these people while I'm burnt out. So I made mistakes there. But I'll never make them again. But it's comforting for me to go and say, you know what, I'm human. I made the mistakes, but what I can say is fast forward all these years later, I'll never make that mistake again. And the mistakes that I made has allowed us to build a charity and a foundation that's
Yeah.
going to reach thousands of more people. So, and again, it was just the advice that I gave these people were, go seek help. I probably should have taken them maybe for a walk or spent a little bit more time with them and, maybe sat down, had a conversation and maybe listen to them, not say, oh, day or cut, mate, not today, mate. I'm tired, mate. That's not the response, but that's the honest answer. And I'll never be too tired for anyone ever again, Chloe. That's what I've learned from it.
But I think that's been a like huge learning curve for you, and obviously put a lot into perspective, and especially like losing your own brother, and for clients, like that's a tough thing to go and I'm really sorry that you had to.
Yeah, and thank you, Chloe. And you know what? If I talk about Dino, if I, without going into too much, detail on it, but he rung me to tell me what he was going to do, and we sat down. I actually went down to him to Brisbane, and sat with him and had a beer as brothers do, and he told me what he was going to do, and he just looked at me, and my response was, so this was 13 years ago now. I said, well, do you want another beer?
Mm.
He goes, yeah. So we bought another beer and that was it. And then we drank the beer. There was not a word said, and we went home. And then he called me 7 days later. And when he called me, I hung up on him because I didn't know if is he going to say the same thing? I don't know what he's going to say. I don't know how to answer it. So I hung up on him. And then he left this horrible voicemail message that said, sorry, bro. Love to your family. I got to go. And that was the last I heard from him. I frantically tried to ring him back, but that was it. There was no contact after that. So my actions weren't right, and the one, I'll never not pick up the phone again if someone calls. Number two, I will know the right things to say when someone is in that suicidal thought, and sometimes it's not having the right things to say. Maybe it's just having the ear and allowing someone to talk and vent and open up and know that you are there for them. I didn't even do that for these guys, but sometimes we learn the hard way, and I learned a real hard way. But by learning that, it allowed me to really fight through to this charity, and it really allowed me to take this charity to another level, and not just build a youth sanctuary, but to build schools, because all these kids now with ADHD, autism, dyslexia, learning disabilities, bullying, mainstream schools just not working. So now I've got an opportunity from the education department to build my own school. Like, how cool is that? Lookout Community College, like, coming soon. And so I sit here and go, wow, from tragedy, the story just gets better. And we don't stop till we've built 50 centers and 50 schools.
Yeah.
I said that 3 years ago. Everyone laughed. My business acquaintances walked away. You go, man, you're kidding yourself, Lynn. You got no idea what you're doing. But Chloe, it's happening.
Yeah.
It'll happen, and it's going to happen way faster than I probably imagined.
And you know why? It's because you're believing in yourself. If you believe, you shall receive.
It's super true, and I think that's it. I think if once doubt starts creeping in, and the vision starts dropping away too. But I think if you've just got that unconditional frame of mind to go, mate, no, it's happening. And again, how I even had that at the start. There's something in my heart that said this is what's happening, and I had a CEO at the start, and I used to tell her, and she's looking at me, and she was a big CEO from another organization, fantastic at her job, might I say. But hearing some little town dude just say, I'm going to build 50 centers on this and that, which costs an infinity amount of money. And it probably went over her head, and she ended up leaving and just go, mate, you got rocks in your head. But I didn't take that personally. I get it, because it looked like what I was building that cost a lot of money. It looks like it couldn't take off. And there's been around $1.2 million just of pure donations that have turned up in the last 2.5 years. And with that, and now we've got this house. So it's quite phenomenal just from a little idea. And that's no community pushing. We're not pushers. We're focusing on work doers and create, I guess, an organic talk through the community of what we do. That's always my approach. Because if we in the charity, there's got to be 60 charities within a 5-10K radius on the Sunshine Coast. There's a lot of charities.
Yeah.
They're all fighting and asking for money. I'm asked for money. That what I will do is do great work.
Yeah.
And then if people ask me the question, how can we help? This is how you can help.
Yeah.
And that philosophy, it takes a lot of patience to do it that way. It's not the way I'd recommend a lot of business people to do. They can run a certain way, but in a charity way, in a foundation, yeah, what's important is relationships.
Yeah.
People will give to the cause, and they'll also like the founder or the person that's got doing something for their own reasons.
Yeah, 100%. If you're doing it for the right reasons, people will jump on board.
Every day of the week. But if you're pushing and asking for money, no one, you don't even like walking down the shopping centre and, when it might be the life say, hey mate, how you going? And I feel so bad. It's like, sorry mate, I'm already given to kids in Africa and stuff. I can't keep giving, but it's only going to be like $10 a week. I said, I know, but that's like $40 and I'm giving over here before you know it. It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I know what that feels like. So I don't want to be that charity that's constantly trying to ask for money.
Yeah. So obviously in that situation, when you first started your business, there's two ways that one person can go. They can go down the route where, they might get depressed, they might get anxious, they might go down, that horrible kind of feeling route, or, they make that change and that switch. What like for any of the listeners that might be going through a hard time right now, what would you recommend to keep pushing forward?
So I guess if you talk about building a body, right, like you can't go to the gym once and train and expect to have the body you like, right? And it's not one meal won't get you lean.
Yeah.
So my philosophy is always, I'm very good at doing the basics well. I'm very, but we know them words: consistency, discipline, patience. Everyone's sick of hearing them words, but they're why they're the fundamentals. But let's turn it around a little bit, and I just go, do simple well. I don't focus on the bigger picture too much. I know what I want to do, but I just focus on what am I doing this morning. I'll usually get up and creature habit. And you'll hear a lot of business people say the same thing, mate. They'll get up at certain times. And I'm not saying everything has to be so clockwork like that, but I'm very, very strict on my routine for no particular reason other than, I need to exercise in the morning and I need to have my little 10, 15 minutes to myself. And I'm not saying anyone's got to sit here and do like so much meditation, but I do believe in just sitting down for yourself for 5 minutes. I have what we call the chair, Chloe. It's just a chair. It's nothing fancy. I've been sitting on my chair for 8 years. I walk in. It's my same routine. I walk in. I don't even like coffee, right? But I walk in. I make a coffee. I turn the lights on. Turn the music on. Go get me coffee, and I sit on my chair. And all I'm doing is sitting on my chair for 5 minutes. I'm just going to sit there. And I'm going to reflect. What can I change? What haven't I changed? What do I need to change? Pretty simple. And whatever I answer to that, I'm going to take action on it. And if I'm getting grumpy and stroppy and moody, Leon, sort that out. Why are you grumpy, stroppy, and moody? I've had a big week, lack of sleep. All right, maybe I'll duck home for a half an hour snooze, or when I get the weekend, I'm going to recover. I'm going to listen to what my body's telling me to a degree, and I'm going to do something about it. And that little reflection moment there, you've identified things that you need to change. And be honest with yourself. You've been terrible to your staff, or you're cranky, you're yelling, you're screaming. Have a look at it and go, yeah, I have been doing that. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna acknowledge that. Why is that? Most of the time we know. And I'm really big on, if there's a problem within myself or something I need to change, I want to do something about it. And it might change overnight, whatever it might be, but I'm going to act on it pretty quick. And just in that little moment, man, I can always sit down and look around the youth sanctuary, and I always give myself a little smile. I give a little smile and go, man, like this is pretty cool. Like, my family's cool, my dog's cool. And essentially, I'm just not using that word gratitude because people are sick of hearing that word. But I am putting myself in a state in a moment of going, this is pretty cool. Life is pretty cool, but life is hard, and it's meant to be hard. But I always have that perspective. I think it's nothing more powerful than that, to go, man, like I've got the opportunity in this world to pretty much do whatever puts a smile on my face.
100%. You're able to get up. You're able to go use your legs. You're able to go to the gym. This is one thing I'm very big on, is being grateful, even for like the little small things that we don't take for granted. I'm able to go to the gym and work out because I have a healthy functioning body that, somebody who's sitting maybe at the hospital is crying because they can't be in my position.
It's so true. And again, I've had like, obviously the deaths we're talking about. I've had 5 knee reconstructions. I'm background with soccer, and I had a shoulder reconstruction recently, a couple of hernias, but I'm okay with it. I play hard too. You know what I mean? I play fast, I play hard, and things break down, right? It's like if you're a V8 car drive, the car's going to go fast. It's going to break down. That's okay. Just fix it. And I think the body too. I think this is looking after that body, looking after that mind. But I also say, you're going to tap into that spiritual world. I don't care how people want to do it. I'm not here to preach. I'm not the pastor. But all I always say, like the old Meatloaf song, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. You can train and have the body. You can look after the mind and do your mindfulness, your self-care, your reflection, your gratitude, you read and journaling, Bibles, whatever someone wants to do, calming music. I believe in that, and they're pinnacle essentials. But we also got to remember that most of our pain and heartache is stored in our heart, right? And that's a spiritual thing. So if you don't tap into that, I just don't see how you can be as calm or as peaceful as you like. I've tried it. I did it for 42 years, living my own human flesh. I did all right. I was okay, but I could never get higher than a 6 or a 7 out of 10 each day. And that was me really working on myself and tap in a little bit of faith and bit of hope and carry that bit of peace within myself. Now, Leon, people go, how you going? Like, yeah, I'm good. 15 out of 10. I'm good today. And so when I have a bad run or things don't go my way, or I'm down or I'm sick or I'm injured, I probably drop down to like a 9, right? I can bounce back from a 9 out of 10 pretty quick. But if I'm a 7 out of 10 and I have a bad month or a bad couple of weeks, I drop down to a 4 and a 3, and before you know it, it's a long way back up again. And most people at the moment are probably cruising around like a 3 out of 4, you know what I mean? And out of 10, and then all it takes is a couple of bad weeks. And you drop to a 2, and then you see the cycle, and they're just caught in that moment. So yeah, I think I'll have to practice what I preach, Chloe.
Yeah.
I can't sit here and talk about doing all this and not be the walk and talking pinnacle. But we're all going to have troubles. We're all going to have struggles. We're all going to have grief. We're all going to have loss. What matters is, are you willing to work on the hard stuff behind the scenes when no one's looking? That's what makes, again, a good leader.
And what type of spirituality, like things, and do you put into practice?
Yeah, I'm so simple. I literally, if I'm to talk about 7 words of love, peace, kindness, joy, gentleness, self-control, they're such simple words. But imagine if you could implement them every day. Just being kind to people, being gentle, having self-control, being patient, capital letters. That's huge. Those type of words there, and love. You put love in there if you just love people, and probably capital letters, which is outside these words here, is forgiveness, right? You can dislike people and hate people. I don't use that word hate. It's not allowed in my center. Not allowed to use that word hate in my center, because it's like a snake bite. It's an angry word.
Yeah.
And so I'm big on forgiveness. I think that's the number one thing of healing. If you can't let something go there, you're gonna hang on to it, and the longer you hang on to it. And I do this thing, right? This is when I'm sitting down when I'm doing my therapy sessions, and I'm really annoying, right? What I'm going to do when someone's hanging on to something, I tell them to come for a walk, and we'll walk over, and we're probably going to grab a 20 to 30 kilo dumbbell. So that's quite heavy for a little girl to carry, right? And they're struggling to carry, right? And anyway, so they bring it over. I say, carry it. Oh my God, this is heavy. No, yeah. But you chose to hold it, not me. They're like, what do you mean? Well, you don't forgive. You want to hang on to that 30 kilo dumbbell. That's the weight that you're carrying every day. You wonder why you're tired. You run down. They said, oh, can we put the dumbbell down? No, you hang on to it. No, you put it down when you want to start thinking about forgiving. Now, I'm not saying for 1 second that maybe someone's just had an extreme, something bad happened to them. I'm not expecting anyone to forgive someone like that. That's not what I mean.
Yeah.
What I mean is, if you're maybe having a fight with your dad, your parents, and you're hanging on to something for 10 years, it's time to start working on letting it go. Because if you don't, the foundations of the love, the kindness, the peace, the joy, the gentleness, the self-control, that all means secondary nothing if you don't start letting go pain. So you notice earlier I said I put my hand up and said, I'm okay with being responsible, as opposed to me deep down hanging on to the pain, going, no, it wasn't my fault. They would have did it anyway. It's not my fault. It's someone else's fault. So hang on. Actually, it was probably their parents' fault. The blame game.
Yeah.
That doesn't do anything. So it was comforting for me to put my hand up, and it just kind of gives you that peace to go, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to make something really cool of this.
Yeah.
And I don't carry that load. And if you don't carry that load, well, you have a lot more energy because you're not carrying a 30-kilo dumbbell around in your heart every day, which weighs you down.
Yeah. And nobody's perfect. Like, don't get me wrong. But if you have the self-awareness to understand, or step back even and go, whoa, that wasn't nice. I didn't like that version of me, and work on it. That's the hardest part.
It is, and wonder why it's so hard. Like, why is it so hard for a human being to accept that? And we have this thing in our side, inside us, called just an ego. We just
Yeah.
have that. And I think that I just keep coming back to that word integrity. And there's there's one other thing, congruency. It's just simply saying, you can be congruent or incongruent. Congruent is just saying, what's inside's outside you. And I think if you can aim to be that human being, and it kind of lies in with integrity too, same sort of thing. Who are you behind the scenes when no one's looking?
Yeah.
Same sort of thing. And that's my goal. If you do that, imagine how powerful your business will be. Imagine the people that you will sit down, that you will radiate with when you're having a conversation. You won't have to say anything. Your energy and your passion and your zest for life and what you're doing in your mission will just take over the conversation. And they'll probably just sit there and just go like, what do you want, mate? Like, how can we help you? Which essentially happens. You know what I mean? That is my strength. That is probably my gift.
Yeah.
So that is how I run my business. I use me as my energy and passion, and that's been my methodology. And I tell you what, a lot of success and money can follow that.
Yeah, 100%. Now, I've had a few people on the podcast. So Emil and Philip, and they've got very successful businesses. They've sold businesses, exited businesses. And one thing that's really important to them is their health and getting to the gym. So can you talk, obviously you have the firsthand experience being a bodybuilder. Can you talk about on that and how that affects your mental and physical?
Yeah, definitely, because there's evidence to state there that if you look at go and what's the number one antidepressant, it's resistance training.
Yeah.
Now, if someone doesn't like resistance training, if it's yoga, Pilates, running, walking, I think it's important to do what you enjoy, Chloe. It's not point me saying, hey, you got to get in the gym. If someone just goes, oh, I'm anxious about that, that's unfamiliar to me.
Yeah.
I think if you can find some movement that you enjoy, but I think also every human being needs to at some point have some strength. Muscle is almost the foundations of where all our problems lie, right? So, but exercise is also, it's a piece of the puzzle. Like I say, exercise is one thing, the mindset's another, the soul's another. So I think I think some people also that I coach can get too caught up in just exercising. So now they're trying to exercise their life away, right? So they might train in the morning and they go finish work and they'll go for a run, and now they're burning the candle at both ends, right? So I think there's a bit of logic there to go, you know what? I think if you're doing movement that makes you happy is the most important thing. But if you start thinking about, resistance training and it's not just about muscles and getting strong, it's also about strengthening your mind, but it's also about your ligaments, your tendons, your joints, your back, osteoporosis. There's so many benefits there. And we got young kids that train in the gym. Obviously, mate, there would be about 60 to 70 kids per night that come into the center. To give you an idea, it's pretty full on.
Yeah.
And there'll be nights there's 30 kids under 15 in the gym. 30 kids, and these outside our place, these kids can't get into a gym because gyms, you generally got to be a certain age. So you know how cool it is to see a young Eshe fella that's never been praised, never been empowered, gets on the leg press, all of a sudden lifts 150 kilo for 10 reps. He's never done anything remotely close to that. He's got 5 other fellas and ourselves and our volunteers cheering him on. He gets up, he's excited, he's high-fiving, his adrenaline's going through the roof. And then you ask him and said, mate, what did you learn from yourself from that? Oh, I didn't think I could do that. Say, hey, there you go. Just know, little Johnny, that you're way more capable than you think. And there's something so innocent. It's just lifting a leg press, right? But there was empowerment in that. So there's people that have come in and, I guess hitting PBs and, progressing on loads. And you get, especially some people, they're a bit on the autistic side and they like attention to detail and they might make some notes about what they're lifting. And they might go, Leon, I lifted 5 kilo more today. That's huge. That's a win. Bit of praise, bit of empowerment. So it's not just about the lifting weights. There's easily progression that you can see. And at the end of the day, we're human beings. If we're not progressing, we're not happy.
Yeah.
If your business isn't progressing, you're not happy.
Yeah.
If you're not progressing in life, you're probably not as happy or joyful as you like to be.
Yeah.
So when these kids can see fast results, which these kids want fast results, don't they? It puts a smile on their face,
Yeah.
and it gives them a little bit more confidence. And kids don't build belief and confidence from the manual books, not always podcasts. What they do is they've got the education knowledge, but they usually build it by doing.
Mm.
That is why having a center that's so based around activities, and everyone laughed when I built it. They're like, man, you're not going to get kids to talk or do this or that. Man, the place is so loud. We've got to turn the music up because everyone, the adrenaline, kids are loving it. They're having fun.
Yeah.
They're moving. My therapy with kids most of the time is we could be playing pool, shoot hoops, having a chat, training, because they're going to talk more when they're moving, and they don't have to have eye contact with myself, Chloe. They can just sit there and move, do what makes them happy, have a conversation without looking at me, and we can get to the root core what they're going through. So yeah, movement, I think it's essential, and everyone should be doing it. And if you don't like exercise, I would find a way to like it.
And I spoke to Megan Jarvis on Tuesday, and she was telling me that obviously, like when you strength training, it actually rewires your brain and your neuroplasticity.
Absolutely, and this is why, when we're talking about antidepressants, what's the number one? There's data from universities in the USA recent in the last couple of months that state that the number one antidepressant is resistance training. The power. It's almost like your challenges, everything stores, your pain stores in the muscles.
Yeah.
So if you train it, you're exerting it out, and it extends this cognitive thinking. You go to a training session and you're sharp afterwards. I did this big presentation speaking gig on Tuesday morning, and it was an early one, it's a 7 a.m. one. And it was a bit of a hike from my place, but it means, okay, I've got to get up an hour early because I can't change my routine. The only way I know to wake up with my personality is I need to move and I need to resistance train, because when I do, I'm sharp. But if I don't, I'm sharpish, but not as sharp as I would be. So yes, what she's saying to me is 100% is that the brain waves straight through my cognitive thinking. I'm on. Yeah. And I'm ready. So I want to grab the microphone and get on stage and be sharp and ready to go, not like 5% behind. That's not who I am. Everything I've got to do has to be at the best level I possibly can.
Yeah. So what's the responsibility that a business owner could have on their team in this sense?
The ultimate thing is you got to lead from the front. I think you must lead from the front, and I believe in you've got to practice what you preach. What I said earlier, and I think a good leader, it starts with the foundations of looking after yourself. Exactly what we were saying there. So I had a couple of great fellas that I work with, and one trains a bit, and the other one's he's trying to, he wants to, he needs to. The doctor said he has to, but he just can't get up at that time. He just can't be where he needs to be. And I can't just force him, but I say, mate, but I've got to. He knows that I'm in there 7 days. He knows this is my routine. He knows not to come and walk in my door, between the hours of 5 and 6 a.m. because I'm just doing Leon. So the cool thing is they all know what I do. And not just do they know, they've seen the runs on the board. I never yell. I don't get cranky. So you lead from the front. So I guess your actions that you were showing around people, back to that congruency. I want to be that leader that is congruent. What you see in the outside is what's on the inside. When you go speak to me, I'm at a pub having a beer, I'm the same person. If I go speak on stage, I'm the same person. You listen to a reel on social media, he's the same person. And that genuineness and that authenticity builds trust. Yeah. So for me, it's being the person that's trustworthy, that's approachable, and anyone can come and have a conversation if there's a problem. Yeah. You'll go to that and they'll have that open conversation. So for me, I think the transparency with myself about that genuineness, that authenticity. And there's one last thing, it's called having an unconditional positive regard for people, everyone and everything. And all that simply means is just accepting everyone for whom they are and loving everyone. Because if I'm not accepting that Sue has to be trained this way, John has to be spoken to this way. When you're man managing, it's not a one size fits all. You need to understand the personalities. You need to understand that some people may have maybe a little bit of autism, so they might not understand my humor, or I need to deliver to them in a way that they can understand it. Otherwise, they're like, I don't understand, and therefore I'm not going to get the most productivity out of them. Yeah. So I think if you can accept and understand personalities, I'm not expecting anyone to know that depth, but I think if you can know your employees, accept their flaws, accept their strengths, I think you can work with that.
So your business has a lot of purpose, obviously, as we've spoken about this episode. When it comes to like creating purpose for your business, so say there's a business owner watching, like how do you think they can go around like having that purpose for themselves and their business?
Yeah, I think for a great business, I guess there's many ways in business that people have built business on, that maybe their upbringing, their education, their knowledge, their wisdom. And then you got people that also build it back on the end of a story, and there's a why, there's a reason for them to go down that field. I think anything that between the two, I don't think it matters which one you do, but I think for longevity, you've got to attach a why to it. Like a lot of guys I speak to, they've been in the building game for 40 years. They help out, and they ask them if they really love their job. They've been building it for 40 years, and it's probably just an ends to a means. But sometimes if they're going to be in it till their retirement, I say, well, you got to learn to love it again. You got to learn to find a reason. Maybe you need to bring something else into it. Maybe somehow you need to freshen up or change the way you go about things. But if you can't keep it in your heart, it's probably not going to last. It's like a relationship, right? If it's not in your heart anymore, it's probably not going to work. You can try as much as you like, but it's not in your heart. So I think every day we need to attach a why to what we're doing. I think, and how big or small, it doesn't really matter. But if you can do that, it brings energy, right? But otherwise, if we just get up in this Groundhog Day and we just go through the motions, which probably a lot of business owners can do, it brings complacency. And that's a mother of all F-ups. Alrighty. So my biggest fear in what we do is the team getting complacent. Oh, it's all running beautiful, well-oiled machine. Oh, they're winning awards. It's all great. No, mate, I'm like, no, that's not happening under my wing. And so I'll always be checking in with my team, just ringing them. Hey, going, you doing this? Hey, just checking in. How you going? How you feeling? Just leaning from the front and making sure that they're enthusiastic. They get a bit of my enthusiasm, because complacency, I think, is happens naturally in a lot of businesses. And life can make us do that, Chloe. Like it's not that anyone means to. Sometimes we're busy, we've got family concerns, we might be going through personal challenges, and that becomes the focus. And then the business doesn't become the focus. So I think that the focus, for a nutshell, everything has to be on your well-being. And it's okay to have your challenges. It's okay to not be okay. Your words earlier on, beautiful words. And I think if you consistently invest into yourself, and there's your reflection, what I said earlier, about what can I change, what haven't I changed, what do I need to change? Yeah, getting a bit complacent, getting a bit stale. And we all do that. With business, that happens. I've been in this journey already. And I'm going to try and snap myself out of it pretty fast. I said I've been in and out of hospital for a month. I feel like I'm lazy. You know what I mean? And last week I was struggling. I'm going, man, like I feel like I've done no work, and oh my God, if I stay like this isn't cool. All right, what do I got to do to change it? All right, get up. All right, I haven't stopped training, but just find out what I need to change and get that enthusiasm. And funny, I woke up yesterday morning, like just jumped out of bed, and that enthusiasm come back again. But if I hadn't reflected and sort of checked in on myself and realized that, yeah, I'm sick, but I've got complacent about it. Probably a few other, I didn't get back to that message quick enough. I usually get back to messages quick, not as sharp as I usually am, but that's okay. Just check in with yourself and find a way to change it.
It's funny. Every single person that I've spoken to on the podcast, the one piece of advice has been have a why. Love what you do, have a passion. You need to be able to do it and getting no money for it, like you mentioned earlier, and still want to keep going to actually, I guess, get to that success point.
It is true, isn't it? Because I remember having no, like, again, going as good as broken, having nothing. And I'm thinking, man, this is a great mission. This is awesome. This is awesome. But at the end of the day, look, I'm still in business, right? And this costs a lot of money. And I'm going, man, what do I do here? But the back of my mind just goes, hey, Leon, your time will come. And the funny thing was, putting nearly, again, nearly $500,000 of everything that's in there, is that I'm way better off now than I was 3 years ago. Yet I've got the center, we've got the results, we put in that much money into it, and I'm still not even on our payroll, but I can contract as Body, Mind by Leon to the charity. So when there's education and youth justice programs, so this is where Leon comes into play. This is where you can do it might be an 8-week program. There's 20 grand just come straight into your pocket. Done, beautiful, and you do multi of them. Down to the bang for the buck, the hours you work, it's only got to cost me X amount of hours and I'm getting paid this. So you can be very, very smart how you go about things in business. So now you're saving time, but you might not, you can go 3-4 months without it. So I think it's just really trusting And when you're building something of that purpose, everything has a way to come in the back door. It always does. I don't think anyone's ever built something with a great why, can unconditionally done it for the right reasons, and it's failed.
Yeah.
It actually can't. I don't know how it can fail. If it does, you've probably got complacent, taking the eye off the ball. Maybe you haven't humbled yourself and grounded yourself a little bit. That happens too. So much in business where you might get a little bit of talk, and sometimes it goes a little bit to ahead, and then all of a sudden you think, oh gee, I've got all this money, and all of a sudden now I've got nothing coming through.
Yeah.
Word travels very fast, so it's been very important to again ground yourself and humble yourself.
Yeah. Amazing. If there's somebody watching right now and they have a business or they might be even going through a hard time, what would be your one piece of advice for them?
Yeah, I think everything has to come back to you. Everything has to come back to yourself, and put your hand up and say, you know what, I'm going through a challenging moment, and don't wait to send that message. Don't wait to make that phone call, because things don't get better on their own. They just don't. And I think if you don't do that, well, the contrary to that is, maybe it's a relationship's online. Maybe the relationship with your kids is online. So I think as every human being, always, if we can just strive to be 1% better every day, that's 365% better every year. We're not asking for much.
Yeah.
We're not asking to look after yourself and, start doing an hour workout every day and go do some meditation down the beach and walk the dog. It's not what I'm asking anyone to do. What I'm asking to do is just have a look at where you're at and go, what changes need to be changed, and just be honest with yourself and make them happen. Because everyone listening to this podcast now, there's someone that's relying on you. There's someone that needs you, and there's someone that loves you, whether you think it or not. Sometimes we feel very lonely, isolated, and disconnected, but I can assure you, looking after yourself, there's someone there that wants to help you, and there's someone there that wants you around for another day.
Yeah. Beautiful. Oh, gonna make me cry. Amazing. So where can the viewers find you if they want to follow along for the journey?
Yeah, so you can find me two ways, Chloe. There's many, but there's Body and Mind by Leon. You use website, Body and Mind by Leon. There's plenty of stuff on there, and books, podcasts. There's a lot of cool stuff on there.
Yeah.
And then they've got the charity, the Lookout07. You can find there, and social medias, most of them's just under my name. Just Dr. Leon Stensholm. And I don't even know like Dr. Stats. That sounds a bit weird, mate. That was an honourable doctorate. That was again pretty cool moment. But anyhow, just one of them things that it gets offered to you, and so you take it up. Look, the boys still, we'll go for a beer, and they'll call me Dr. Idiot and Dr. Doodle and all this. But you know what? I don't take life too seriously.
Yeah.
When I'm working and I'm in critical situations, I'm as serious as I need to be. But I'm a larrikin in the youth centre. I'm a larrikin at home. And that also is a pretty big success of myself, is I don't take life too seriously, man. I feel like I've been given another chance from all these lives that were lost under my wing. And I just go, you know what? I've got nothing to lose. And like I say, when your back was against the wall, man, it's a pretty powerful tool to run with.
Yeah. We're going to link all of his, where you can find him and follow along down below. I did also want to quickly mention that he is actually a 4-time author.
Yeah.
Yes.
I couldn't even spell. When I wrote my first book, Chloe, I just finished it. My dad's like, I've got a relationship with my parents, but he's a harsh critic too. He's like, what do you mean you wrote a book? I said, yeah, I wrote a book, Dad. He goes, mate, you can't even spell. I said, I know. I said, funny, right? He goes, no, seriously, how would you write a book if you can't spell or you can barely even read or write? I said, I've never actually read a whole book yet, but I've written one. And he goes, no, seriously, like, how do you do it? I said, well, Dad, you know what? I said, Dad, there's smarter people than me, and I used them. He goes, what do you mean? I said, well, I got the story. I said, I put pen to paper. I said, all I got was an editor to correct my grammar and my paragraphs. Easy. Paid them the money that they were worth of it. And that was it. And that's all I've done with every book. I said, there's the delegation, there's your business. You don't have to know everything.
Yeah.
Most of us got a story.
Yeah.
As long as you can tell a story, whether you write it or ghostwrite it, right? People can do the pen to paper for you or help you grammar. And I still, my spelling is pretty good. Better after 4 books at uni, but it's not about that, mate. All it is the story.
Yeah. And where can people buy this if they want?
Yeah, all on the websites. Yeah, all on the websites. Yeah, web straight for me, mate.
Yeah, amazing. And they'll all be linked down below. Amazing. Thank you so much for your time on the podcast.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Leon ends every talk with 4 words. Be kind, it's free. If this conversation moved you or made you think about somebody that maybe needs to hear it, make sure you send this to them. And make sure you subscribe to the podcast because we release conversations like this every single week.